Alright, what's going on, everybody? It's been a while since I've dropped a video. Things got a little bit crazy. I was super busy, but I'm hoping that I'm able to come back and drop a lot more regularly. As you guys already know, it is store championship season currently, and what that means for me is making a lot of decks, trying to test out a lot of decks on Octagon and in person, whatever have you, and hopefully grabbing a buy. So the deck that I've been working on lately is an Aun'Shi deck. I don't know if you guys are familiar, but I usually play Orc. Orc is the faction that I have been, I guess, focusing on since the core set came out, since the core set dropped. But Aun'Shi was definitely an ID or a warlord that immediately struck me as being very intriguing, and one that I was looking forward to having a shot at playing. So I actually took some time out, put this Aun'Shi deck together, and was able to play it at a tournament this past weekend in Toronto. It did really well, considering I had done no research. I didn't look at anyone else's decks or anything like that. I kind of just took the card, looked at it, looked at the card pool, and kind of made my strategies from there. So no outside input or anything, and then went straight into the tournament and saw how it fared. I ended up going 2-2. It was a 4-round winner kit tournament, not a store championship yet. I ended up going 2-2. Easily could have been 4-0. Made a few judgment errors and some stupid plays that kind of took me out in those two games that I ended up losing, but it definitely ended up being a pretty strong deck. And I think after playing it, I've definitely figured out some changes that I want to make in order to make the deck a bit stronger. So for those of you who don't know, or who haven't seen the card yet, or maybe you're too lazy to read it, Aun'Shi is right here. It's the new Tau. So he is a 2-attack, 7 HP warlord, and just like everybody else, he starts with 7 cards and 7 resources. His ability is each Tau unit you control at this planet gains Armor Bane. Forced reaction: after this warlord resolves its attack, move it to your HQ. So just looking at that alone, you can kind of assume what type of warlord Aun'Shi is going to be. He is more of an assassination warlord, I would say. I don't think you're going to want to play with him and have your primary win condition be trying to nab planets. You're really trying to hunt down your opponent's warlord, bloody them, and then you can worry about the planets, or maybe bloody them and kill them right away. I think that's really where Aun'Shi shines, and his ability is definitely one that helps you to do that. So without further ado, we're going to get into this. I'm going to go through the deck list that I have currently, and then put my changes in as we go. So this might be a little bit longer of a deck building video than we usually have, but hopefully it's not too long. So we're going to go ahead with Aun'Shi. Obviously he starts off with signature cards. One second, I'm just going to double check and make sure that we have all these sets in that we need. Okay, everything's good to go. So Aun'Shi starts with his signature cards, the first one being Aun'Shi's Sanctum. Exhaust his support to ready a target unit at a planet with 1 or more ethereal units you control. Very strong card to get attacks off more than once and hopefully feed off that Armor Bane. Next, his signature unit is a 1-cost, 1-attack, 3 HP unit with 1 command icon. Force reaction: after this unit resolves its attack, move it to your HQ. So just like Aun'Shi, once they attack, they go. But you know you're getting that guaranteed 1 damage in with the Armor Bane, so they're not so bad, and they're really cheap. Ethereal Wisdom: this is a very important card. Until the end of the phase, a target Tau unit you control gets +1 attack and gains the ethereal unit, and we'll talk about why that's important in just a little bit. And finally, the Honor Blade: 1-cost attachment with 3 shields attached to an ethereal unit. Attached unit gains each other Tau unit you control at this planet gets +1 attack. So you might be thinking immediately that you'd want to play these cards together so that maybe you can turn, I don't know, whatever it is, whatever unit you really like. So maybe a Stingwing into an ethereal to give Stingwing +1 attack. You know Stingwing has range, and then toss an Honor Blade on him. However, At the end of the phase, once he loses Ethereal, that means that this card would be ineligible to be attached to Stingwing, so it kind of drops off. So the Honor Blade is obviously the card that you're going to want to put on Aun'Shi to give everybody +1, or as a last resort on another printed ethereal unit. Anyhow, let's get into it. So I'll start with the armies first because that's just how my brain works. So the first army that we have is the Prelate, which is another newer card. Let me just get my, here we go, Tau Eldar. So the Prelate, let's type that in. Prelate's right here. Oh my goodness, there we go. It's a 4-cost unit, has 4 attack and 3 HP. Ambush reaction: after you deploy this unit, each other Tau unit you control at this planet gets +1 attack until the end of the phase. Force reaction: after this unit resolves its attack, move it to your HQ. So this is a unit that I only put 1 copy in. It's very expensive and you're really not going to play it that often, but the game that you do get it out, or the games that you do get it out, it's going to help swing the odds in your favor, especially when your opponent's not expecting it, because it's obviously an ambush. The next card is the Black Guardians, and like I said, I'm just putting my deck list from the weekend in, and then I'm going to go ahead and just take everything out that didn't work so well. So the Black Guardians is an Eldar unit, 2-cost army, no command, which is part of the reason why it's going to go. Which is part of the reason why it's going to go. 2 attack and 4 HP. I had 2 of those in. The next is the Borkin recruits. We had 2 of those. So this card actually is fantastic. 2-cost army, 2 attack, 2 HP, 1 command. This unit gets +2 attack while it's at a planet with a warlord, so it doesn't have to be an enemy warlord. It can be Aun'Shi as well, so you're going to want to put them down as a deterrent for your opponent, because wherever Aun'Shi goes, they're getting 4 attack with Armor Bane. So, and like we said, there are ways of giving ethereal and moving ethereals around, so that is definitely a card that I had 3 of. Next is the Crisis Battle Guard, another card that was taken out, and I had 2 copies of those. We already know what the Crisis Battle Guard does, for those of you that are familiar with the game. If not, it's just a very expensive unit with 3 command and mobile. Ethereal Envoy's already in. I had Devilfishes in as well, and this is another card that is going to come out. So let's go ahead and throw the 2 Devilfishes in. And the Devilfish, 3-cost army, 4 attack, 2 HP. After this unit commits to a planet, ready it. So it's always going to be ready when it's falling on Aun'Shi around. Fireblade. Fireblade, I had 2 copies. When you use a Tau card as a shield, it gains +1 additional shield icon. And he's the unique unit for Tau. 2 command, 2 attack, 3 HP. You really only use him for his shields. I mean, it's very rare that I used him for anything else other than wanting to shield Aun'Shi, because Aun'Shi does have to sit around at a planet for a long time so that all of the units there get that Armor Bane before he's forced to go back home. So having a way to get additional shields on Aun'Shi is very, very important. So 2 Fireblades for sure. Next is the Gun Drones. This was an auto include for me because of how much I like them in Shadow Sun. Gun Drones can be deployed as a 2/2 with 1 command unit, or they can be attached to a non-vehicle unit and give that unit area effect 2. Don't forget that area effect stacks. So say we had, I don't know, a Marksman with 3 Gun Drones on him, he's going to do AoE 6 during the range phase. The Piranha Hunters, I only had 2. Piranha, isn't that how they spell it in the game? Oh wait, Piranha, there we go. Piranha Hunters I had 2 of. They have mobile, and when they move you get to draw a card. This deck, actually, I built it to be very draw heavy, so there is a lot of draw in this deck. You're trying to get through your deck quickly so that you can find all of your combo pieces, as it is a combo deck, which you will see once we get to the end. 3 recon drones. That's an auto include. I don't know why you wouldn't want recon drones in your deck. Comes out for free. It is limited, but it has 2 command icons. Oops. 2 command icons. And command, like I said, is very important. You do want to draw through your deck fairly quickly. Next, we got the rogue traders. I put those in because I was having issues in testing with making enough money. Oh, neutrals, there we go. With having enough money to get the combos off whenever I needed them. And I found that just by adding rogue traders over Eldar survivalists, because the rogue traders only cost 1 credit or resource, whatever. I play Netrunner. 1 resource. They're a lot easier to get on the table, and you're able to get more of them out in 1 turn and make your opponent have to think more. So you end up winning more command that way. Whereas just by having Eldar survivalists, yes, it's nice when you win command because you get that +1 card and you get that +1 resource. But I think the rogue traders is the better option here. So 3 rogue traders, 3 stingwings, obviously. Oops. Stingwing. Stingwing is the 4-cost ranged unit that hits for 3 and has 3 HP, and we'll see why that's important as we get into the other types of cards once we're done with the army units. So 3 Stingwings, 2 Trailblazers, Vashia, 2 Trailblazers, 2-cost unit, 2 command and mobile, just to help you win command, like I said, to ensure that you're getting that draw. I also had 2 Void Pirates. Didn't really need to use them too much because I was winning command so often. They're just kind of there to bother my opponent. But in the latest rendition of the deck, I actually took the Void Pirates out. And I believe that was the last card. I had the Warlock Destructor in early on as well and ended up dropping him because it just wasn't worth it. So now we move on to the attachments. Let me jump over to attachments. Boom. The only attachment that I'm currently using is the Ion Rifle. The Ion Rifle gives you +3 attack. It costs 1 to put it out, and it's also 1 shield. This is one of the combo pieces that you're going to need so for assassination, so 3 of those easily. And the only attachments in the deck obviously are the 3 Ion Rifles and 1 Honor Blade. You could count the gun drones right here as attachments as well, but the true attachments, there's only 3 of them, sorry, 4 of them in the deck total. Next we move on to the events. The one event that did a ton of work for me this weekend is Deception. 2-cost event, has 2 shields, so even if you don't want to pay for the event itself, the fact that it has 2 shields, and if you mix it with the Fireblade, that's 3 shields to protect Aun'Shi. Return a target non-elite army unit to its owner's hand. This card is great for Aun'Shi mirror matches because you're able to bump back their Stingwings who are trying to get the combo off, and you can mess up people's combos that way. And like I said, there's a lot of money in this deck, so you're able to continuously be able to afford the Deception. So I played in 1 turn 2 Deceptions on the same Stingwing to get him back to my opponent's hand after he had spent 8 resources, and that is devastating. So Deceptions, Ethereal Wisdom is already in the deck. We talked about that. That's a signature card. And then the last 3 events, and this is a card that people already hate to see. I don't know how to pronounce it. Kauyon Strike. Everybody has a different name for it. It again has 2 shields. It's a 1-cost event. Combat action, move 1 or more ethereal units you control to a target planet. This card right here is basically the linchpin of your deck. Like I said, after Aun'Shi attacks, after the Prelate attacks, and after the Envoys attack, they all have to move back to HQ. So if you're in a fight, if you're losing the fight, whatever have you, and you need Aun'Shi back, or you need all those guys back just for that extra bit of firepower, you drop 1 Kauyon Strike and you can move them all back to whichever planet you want, all of them, 1 or more. That coupled with the, coupled with Ethereal Wisdom gives you the ability to move any unit that you control to whichever planet you want, because you can make any unit ethereal. And so where the combo comes in here is that you're able to have, for example, a Stingwing out of the table. And for some reason I'm missing... Yeah, there's a unit missing from the... 1 second, I gotta go back. Anyways, you're able to have a Stingwing out of the table, or you're able to have the Marksman out on the table. So let me just go back and find the Marksman. I don't know why. Yeah, my numbers are a little bit messed up here. So I gotta go back and edit that. There's way less than 34 units in the deck, so my apologies. But the Marksman, so he's a 1-cost unit. He hits for 1, has 2 HP and 1 hammer, 1 command icon, and he has range. So what you do is you play the Virla Marksman or the Stingwing, whichever one that you can afford. For me, I can always afford the Stingwing, so I put the Stingwing out. So say we do put a Stingwing out, or just for poor deck's sake, we'll say we put the Marksman out. So the Marksman is at, I don't know, planet 4. Your opponent commits to planet 2. What you do is, during your turn, you're going to attach an ion rifle, which gives +3 attack, to the Marksman. So now he has 4 attack. You play Ethereal Wisdom on the Marksman, so now he's ethereal, and then that way you can play a Kauyon Strike, move the Marksman to wherever your opponent's Warlord is, especially if you have initiative this turn. Use ranged, hit the Warlord right away for 4, and then you know that it has armor bin on it, so he's eating all that damage unless he has Indomitable. Anyway, so he's eating all that damage, and then you're able to use Aun'Shi's Sanctum, exhaust his support to ready a target unit at a planet with 1 or more ethereal units. So anywhere on Aun'Shi is, you can re-ready anybody at that planet. So you re-ready the Marksman and fire again in ranged, and that's 8 damage right off the bat. If it was the Stingwing, then you're doing obviously 6 and 6 each time. If Aun'Shi has the Honor Blade on him, then you're doing 7 with the Stingwing each time. So it's a quick way to bloody. You're able to hunt down your opponent's Warlord very, very easily with this deck, but you do need to find those combo pieces. So before we even continue, the changes that were made to the deck to address that and making sure that I get the combo pieces as fast as I can was that I took out the Black Guardians. So these Black Guardians right here, these Black Guardians right here, I took both of them out. So Black Guardians were gone. I also took the Prelate out because he costed too much and he wasn't really all that necessary to have him. The Devilfishes are also out. Oops, experimental Devilfish. I also took those out. I'm gonna leave the Crisis Battle Guard because the one turn or the few games that they are able to get out and you put them at a planet, like say planet 2, and you can mobile them to 3 or 1, that also messes with your opponent in terms of them trying to choose where to go with their Warlord. So I did like having them in the deck, and I did like seeing them most of the games, so they get to stay. Like I was saying with the combo though, you can also do the same thing with the gun drones. It's very, 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 very useful with the gun drones as well, because that's AoE. So if they load up a planet, all you got to do is move a Marksman over with the gun drones on it and do that same thing using the AoE effect. So AoE 4, for example, attack twice before your opponent gets to do anything in ranged, and that clears out a planet right away. And then I said the Void Pirates are out as well. And what is replacing them? What is replacing them is, sorry, let me get back here. I'm such a noob with this thing. Oh, here we go. Go like this. So what we replaced the Void Pirates with, just looking at the Tau cards. Why can't I remember his name right now? His name is eluding me currently. Sorry, the Earthcast Technician. And the reason why you want to have the Earthcast Technicians in your deck, 3 of them, is because Earthcast Technician, when he comes out, reaction after this unit enters play, search the top 6 cards of your deck for an attachment or drone card. Reveal it, add it to your hand, and place the remaining cards on the bottom of your deck in any order. So that'll help you find your pieces much faster. Granted, there will be games where you lose out on your important cards like Deception or Ethereal Wisdom because you end up drawing those when you're looking and have to stack them at the bottom of your deck. But it's still worth it because the odds of you losing all of your combo cards using whatever his name is, using the technician are very, very slim. So you just want to be able to get your combo pieces before your opponent's able to get set up. That way you can just hunt him down and kill him as quickly as possible. So the Earthcast technicians are definitely staying. And then the other addition that I made was out of Eldar. Where was it? Out of Eldar. It was just to get more ranged units into my camp. So, oh, there they are. They're right at the top. So I added 2 copies of the Aun'Shi Rangers because they are a 3-cost army. They've got 2 attack and 2 HP, and they also have the 2 command icons. You're able to turn them into ethereals as well because, oh wait, no, you can't. Sorry. Target Tau unit. Yeah, you can't use them. I did have them in anyways for the range, sorry. So because of the range, I put them in anyways. It was the ion rifle that you can attach to any unit. It just has to be an army unit, and same with the gun drone. So they can still benefit from that, and I just liked having, or the idea of having more ranged units in the deck. So it's now currently rounded out at 35 army cards. But even still, you might want to have a bit less than that. So if you're not a fan of the Aun'Shi Rangers, you could just take them out and be down to 33. So that is the events. The only thing that we're missing now is the support. So if I go to the support section, the only supports that I'm using currently are homing beacons. So after a unit you control moves to your HQ, exhaust this support to gain 1 resource or draw a card. So almost every turn you're gonna get to trigger this. The key thing to remember here is that the wording in this game is very specific. So when it says moves to your HQ, that doesn't include the HQ phase. It only works with cards that say, for example, if you were to look at the Envoy, after this unit resolves its attack, move it to your HQ. That's the only time it triggers. And it's a limited card, but I still play with 3 of them because you want to see that every game. I also had 2 frontline launch bays in, obviously to reduce the cost of your units, therefore saving more money for you and allowing you to get your combos out whenever you see them. And then the last is the 2 ambush platforms to get you to 55 cards. So ambush platform is just as important as it was with Shadow Sun, because you do want to be able to get your attachments out on the fly. You don't necessarily want to put them down in the deployment phase, because then your opponent's able to, if they haven't passed yet, do something to counteract that. So you really want to wait as long as you can, and by having the ambush platform out on the field, you're able to pay for and reduce the cost of attachments during combat phase. And so then your ion rifles start coming out for free, and they start coming out for free during combat, and your opponent can't really prepare, although they know because you're playing Aun'Shi, they can't really prepare ahead of time for what's about to happen. So you surprise them with the Ethereal Wisdom / Kauyon Strike to move whichever ranged unit you have the most stuff on over to whichever planet you need to, and start targeting their warlord that way. So in my games yesterday, there were many occasions where I was able to bloody my opponent first turn or very, very early in the game, and then it's just getting that finish. So you only have 3 Kauyon Strikes, obviously, and there's no recursion in Tau for events, so you want to use them very strategically. So 1 to bloody, and then hopefully 1 to go for the kill, or 1 for some sort of board management, and then another 1 to end the game. I don't use them for shields unless it's absolutely necessary because of how important the card is. Same with Ethereal Wisdom. This is a card where it's very tempting to want to play it as a shield. However, you'll find that you want to hold on to this card when you see it. There's only 2 in the deck. You will see it often, like I said, because the deck has a lot of draw, but and most of the draw is coming from the homing beacons and being able to win command very easily. But you don't want to play both of these as shields. It's a lot more beneficial for you if you're able to keep it for as long as you can and use it when you actually need to use it in order to combo it with a Kauyon Strike. So if you do need to use a shield, toss on the Deceptions. Even Honor Blade, I don't generally see it often in my games, but shielding 4 on Aun'Shi is excellent, and I would argue playing this as a shield more than an attachment most of the time. I like to keep it in my hand in case my opponent gets off some big swing at my warlord. I want to have this out, especially coupled with the fireblade, to avoid 4 damage. So that is the deck. Like I said, the combo's pretty straightforward. Again, what you're drawing for, what you're looking for, is obviously Ion Rifle. You want to get that as early as possible. Ethereal Wisdom is not necessary. Well, not really necessary. It all depends where you're deploying and where you have your ranged units. So trying to spread them out based on what your opponent's doing, obviously, might be a good idea. But you do want to try to have one handy so that you can turn a Marksman or a Stingwing into Ethereal. That way you can Kauyon Strike it and move it wherever you need to, typically where your opponent's warlord is, and start doing damage that way. So they become Ethereal. They have the +3 attachment on it. You could attach 2 ion rifles to them if you feel like it. You want to move them over and then target your warlord with Aun'Shi there to get that Armor Bane bonus. Armor Bane, for those who don't or may not know, means that your opponent just can't block the attack with shields, so they have to eat it unless they play something like Indomitable. And that, coupled with the the ambush platform, you want to get this out early in the game. I don't necessarily like playing them late. I kind of hope that I have it in my opening hand, or at least in the first couple of rounds, to start getting that bonus from it immediately. I'm not the type, and maybe you guys are, but I'm not the type to play a card like this late in the game, because later in the game your resources become that much more precious, especially if you haven't been winning much command. So I like to see these early. When I see them late, I kind of tend to hug them, unless I have a ton of money and nothing else really to play. I generally don't play them late game, because you don't really need them late game. So I know I said it's a great idea to hold off and attach your attachments in the combat phase, but you don't necessarily have to. So there are other ways around it, or you could still play in deployment, hope that your opponent doesn't have anything to counteract what you're doing, and save yourself $2 by by not playing the ambush platform, sorry. And the gun drones, they're not necessary. I say primarily I go for the ion rifle combo to bloody a warlord. If I'm playing, for example, Taskmaster Kith, or any warlord that's able to get tons of units out on the board very quickly. So Kith has very cheap units out of Dark Eldar. That's when I would go for the gun drones. And because I know that the majority of the Dark Eldar units that are being played currently in the meta are 2 HP units, when you hit an area effect 2 with Armor Bane, everybody dies. So if you're playing against somebody that is, if you're playing against a faction that's able to get many units out very quickly, I go for the gun drones. If not, then I go for the ion rifle. Against Space Marine Kato, I go for the ion rifle to try to bloody Kato as early as possible. And it would be the same thing with Chaos, because you don't want to deal with those effects very long. So bloodying them and getting their effects off the table is basically your primary objective. Like I said, unless you're playing Taskmaster Kith. So that is the deck. I'm not going to play with it currently on Octagon. I'm hoping to get a few matches with it this week on Octagon. If you have a Aun'Shi deck, I can almost guarantee that it'll be different than mine. The ones that I saw mostly splashed Space Marine. I was more of a fan of going this route. You could even go with Eldar and where is it? You could go with Eldar so that you could play the Banshee Power Sword and things like that to buff up your attack, but I find that it's not really necessary. The only reason why I would go with Space Marine is to help me win more command and be able to ambush units. But I found that they're pretty strong on their own, just playing Mono Tau. Like I said, I went 2-2, but I very easily could have been 4-0 had I made different decisions at different points in the game. There was one game where I switched my focus too early, so I went from trying to destroy my opponent's warlord to trying to win planets, then back to destroying his warlord. So you got to remain on one path. Try not to stray too much. That's what I found when I was playing this deck too. It is an assassination deck, so if that's what you're gonna go for it. Unless you see that the flop is put out in such a way that you need to win planets to win the game, I usually go for the kill. So yeah, that is it. Let me know your questions, comments, feedback, if you hate it, if you like it, whatever have you. It's going to be posted on the Google Plus community. It'll also be on Reddit and where else? Board Game Geek, my bad, and anywhere else that I post it. I can't remember. I usually post them all over the place. So if you see it, let me know. And if you're just watching the video and you don't like it, let me know. Send me an email, do whatever. And if you're down to test it with me on Octagon, I'd gladly do that. The next video, however, is going to be my deck builds for Android Netrunner, my new Anarch, and hopefully Haas Bioroid decks. Sorry, it's been a long day. So yeah, that's it for me. Thanks again for watching, as always, and look out for more videos in the near future. Peace.